Hi everybody, it's Tasso, and today's post is all about making you fit for change. It is never easy changing anything in our lives. It has never been. Our minds are just too comfortable with the current situation. And it makes sense, because evolutionary, over the last millions of years, our brains needed to master the situation and become energy efficient. They needed to master the preservation of energy because it ensured our survival. So we get excited and hyped up about something new very easily. That's great for the brain. It always gets distracted by something new. But then once it deems it to be important and it turns it into some sort of automation and autopilot, then it's very difficult to get out of it. Now, why is this like this? Well, it would make sense if you consider this from the perspective of, you believe the things that you've done made you you, and of course these are the things that you know very well and you very often enjoy, and these are the things that you would be afraid to lose. And the second thing would be that on the other side, if you embark on the change, which normally is quite cumbersome and needs a lot of effort, you don't know what's going to be on the other side. So you don't know if it's good enough. You don't know if it's better than what you have right now. So it's very difficult for you to commit to this and embark on the journey. Now, even if you know that on the other side it's better, like for instance, you can't possibly argue that if you stop smoking, you will feel better. You know that. You know how life's going to be like. And you can't argue that if you eat healthier, you're going to feel much better. If you lose some weight, you're going to be able to do many more things. But still, it's difficult to pull you out of your current situation. And why is this? Well, I think it's because we have deep inside a remaining fear of we won't be able to do this. We don't believe that we actually can do that change. And this comes from multiple things. I mean, one of them will be that we failed in many of our things that we tried out. And so if you fail, you program your brain that change is something that you cannot do, and it is something that you sometimes won't even try. Or even if you have not failed in a particular thing, maybe you've seen others try and fail, and then again you say, and it will be a huge obstacle for you to even try and do that change. So if you look at this, what would be, of course, then a good way to overcome this? The best way would be if you do something that you've already done before, because it will, give you the confidence, okay, I've done it, I know how to do it, it's going to be okay. But you can't possibly run around life and duplicate things and run your life twice over just for you to feel comfortable and feel the confidence that you need in order to do things, because you will not do anything new. So what is an alternative? Here's a question for you. How would it be if you actually would look at what change is requiring? What are the critical elements of change? And if you find a way to manage this, if you find a way to train yourself on the elements of change, that is basically that it is common to any kind of change, and if you would program your mind, if you could train, if you can digest and internalize these things, how would that feel like? Would that not make it easier for you to change anything in principle? Well, see, this is where I believe sports comes into play. I believe sports can do this for you. And you see, it's not a coincidence or by accident. In all these inspirational and motivational videos that you can find on YouTube, there's always like 80% of athletes and sports imagery in there. Because this is what people can relate to. People understand that there is a lot of struggle and that you can get results rather fast. And I think this is a very major element that helps there. Sport can give you the confidence, give you that feedback loop of you've tried something and succeeded very, very fast. And I think that is something that can help very, very much. So in this post, I'm going to share with you the 5 elements that I believe are relevant for every change. And I will share you and illustrate this a little bit with personal experience from sports, from athletics, where I can feel it will give you the understanding of how I believe sports can help you reprogram yourself in order to master any change. Number one is about identity. Now, what do I mean by that? The person you are right now might not be able to do what you're about to do. The person you are right now will doubt a lot about your capabilities of doing this. But ask yourself the question, what person would be able to do the change? What person would be able to not only change, but also sustain the change? What person do you need to become? What attitude, what mindset, what skills and capabilities in order to do that change? And this is something that I wanted to share with you as an example from sports. So I've been doing now for more than a year, 1.5 years, something called Freeletics. And Freeletics is an application, is a system of workouts where you have a virtual coach that tells you, that puts exercises together for you in a very nice way, and so different exercises and workouts, and you can do that based on your choice. You can say, this is how often I want to train per week, this is what I want to do, I want to lose weight or I want to build muscle. It's a very individualized thing, and I think it works very well. Now, throughout their communication, the Freeletics guys in their website, in the application, they have always emphasized 2 particular slogans. This is number 1, no excuse, and number 2, quitting is not an option. Now, if you look at this is quite a substantial shift in your mind, because you have to ask yourself the question, do I want to be a person who always finds excuses? Or do I want to be the person who is a quitter? Do I want to be a quitter? And most probably your answer will be no. Now imagine, for instance, I will illustrate it for you with a little side tour on another thing, a game that you might be very familiar with. You might have come across that little game, or sometimes an icebreaker, when you ask someone something and the person is not allowed to say yes or no. So for instance, you would be able to say something like, how is the weather outside? The person says, it's nice, it's warm. Then you say, do you plan to go outside? The person says, yes. Loses. Why? Because in order to be successful in that game, you need to eliminate yes or no from your vocabulary. You can do anything else but say yes or no. And it's the same thing, for instance, with this quitting is not an option in a sport. You can do anything you want. You can take your time, you can take a day or an hour, you can break in between, you can vomit, you can faint, but quitting is not an option. It's almost like you go in Excel and you have a drop-down menu, and in this drop-down menu, it shows you all the options you have, but quitting is not one of them. So if you take this literally and you can do everything but quitting, then this is something that will prime your mind to do something very specifically. So asking yourself the question, who do I need to become? What is the identity I need to have in order to succeed, is something that will help you very much. And in particular also for you to decide the things that you might not want to do. So for instance, if you look in the change as a promotion that you're looking at, a career change, and you ask yourself the question, is the person I need to become in order to get promoted the person I want to become? Then maybe the answer for you is no. So this identity piece is very important. And not quitting and not finding excuses are one particular element of any character that wants to make a change, but there might be other things, just that these 2 things are, for instance, something that is very important and that you can train through exercise, because only then, if you don't quit and if you don't find excuses, you will be successful in sports. Number 2 is about commitment. Now, I will say this very bluntly, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new here. There is no way you can do any change in your life if you treat the change in a way that you say, I'm going to do this as soon as I have time. You cannot possibly eat healthy if you're not on a business trip. You cannot possibly lose weight and do sports regularly if you say, I'm going to do this if I have some time, or as soon as I'm back from work and if I'm in the mood of work. The only way for you to do a change and do sustainable changes, if you put whatever you're about to do in the center and you schedule everything else around it. You need to first prime your mind by saying, I will do it. This is first your commitment. This is first your, no excuses, like we said before. And the second thing is that you actually schedule it and do it on a regular basis. And I'm going to give you an example here from Freeletics. I told you before that in Freeletics, you can choose the amount of workouts you want to do. So for instance, you can tell your virtual coach that I want to train 2 times a week or 3 times a week. However, every 15 weeks or so on a recurrent basis, this virtual coach will throw a hell week to you. So what does that mean? A hell week means 2 workouts per day for 7 consecutive days. Now you can imagine there is no way you can do this on a side. You can never do this if you have time. If you commit to this and you say to yourself, of course, this is number 1, that you will do this, there is no other way than putting it in the center of your attention and scheduling everything else around it. The way I did it, for instance, is in this particular hell week, I was waking up 5 a.m. every morning to do the first workout so that I have time for the second workout lunchtime or in the evening, because I was not able to do everything in one row. Some people are, but if you're a beginner, you very probably are not. So this is what the commitment is about. This is what sport can do you, because it teaches you this commitment. The only way you can be successful at sports is through this commitment, through putting whatever you're about to do in the center and going through with this. And this is the same thing that will help you with any change that you want to do in your life. Number three is about small steps. You will have heard about this. I mean, small steps is something that is very, very crucial as a concept to any change in any project that you want to do. Because we are discouraged very, very often by the size of a big project or the time it will take. And even by the fact that we don't necessarily know all the little steps that we need to do in order to conclude the project. But see, again, as always, like I said before, this is all excuses. These are all excuses. You don't need to see the whole staircase in order to be able to take the first step. If you're driving at night in the car, you don't need to see the whole street in order to come safely from A to B. You only need to see as far as the lights shine, just the 50 meters, and you will get super safely from A to B. So you see, if you cut down any endeavor, any project into the small steps, you will be able to master it. And here's, for instance, again, an example from sports, from freeletics, where it demonstrates you, it primes you, it actually shows you that you can do this in order to prepare you for any change in your life. So for instance, in freeletics, same thing. There are small workouts that will take you maybe 7 to 10 minutes, and there are big workouts. There are big workouts with many repetitions of the same exercise. So you might be confronted with, 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 burpees. And there's no way you can do these things without telling yourself, I will take this 10 at a time. I will make 10, I will make a small break, I will breathe, I will drink. You cut it down in small, manageable, bite-sized portions, and then you can do everything. And again, the sport is there just a way to show you that this is possible, to give you the quick wins and the quick results so that you see, actually it is possible. Relevant criterion for change number 4. That is about personal growth and tapping into your resources. There is some sort of magic if you are confronted with something that you deem impossible and that you actually manage to do this. This is amazing. It makes click in your head. I don't know, maybe some sort of neurological new connection, a very substantial shift. It opens up doors. It changes your whole personality. So life does this all the time. It throws these triggers to us. We call them problems when we're confronted with something that we're scared of and we deem impossible to do. But these are things that are helping us to grow. And I made a post out of this. And if you haven't watched this, please, I encourage you to go and watch it. It's about problems and how to see them also as opportunities for growth and opportunities for you to change something in your life. So life does this without us wanting it. But of course, if you want to do a change intentionally, then you have to confront yourself with these impossible things. Then you need to do it yourself. You need to define things that you are scared of. You need to tackle them in order to grow. And I will give you again an example from freeletics, the sports that I've been doing now for more than a year. So here the same thing, that if you're a beginner at freeletics, you will be able to do maybe 10 or 15 burpees. And by the way, I mentioned burpees here a lot. If you don't know what burpees are, I encourage you to go and have a look at Google or look them up in YouTube. It's a very good exercise for the whole body. Please have a look at them. But again, in the beginning, it's something that you're dreading. It's something that you're afraid of. So you can do 10, maybe 15 burpees. But along the way, the coach will throw at you an exercise or a workout of 100 burpees, 150 burpees, or 200 burpees. Now, one way to tackle this is, as we said before, the concept of small steps. So you put it in bite-sized pieces, and you tackle the whole workout. But at some point of time, you will mature, you will grow within this. You will start asking yourself the question, how else could I do this? What else is important? What have I not considered here? Should I actually revisit the way I breathe? Should I breathe when I go down, or should I breathe when I jump up? So you tap into resources that you didn't need, in fact, to tap in before, because it was not something that put you out of your comfort zone. So if you confront yourself with something that is impossible, you are forced to do this. And again, if you're forced to do this in these sports and you prove yourself that you can master this, that you can actually move forward with something like this, this will help you again tackle any change and conquer any change in your life. An important element number 5 in any change is community. I don't think I will tell you anything new here, but rarely we do something on our own. We always need other people to do something that is at least substantial or meaningful. Okay? You need the community for several reasons. Number 1 would be you need them for encouragement, because there is so many doubts along the way. There's so many obstacles we will face along the way. You need somebody to cheer you up. You need somebody to encourage you, to pull you out, to make you do things that you might at some point of times resist doing. So you need them for the encouragement. You need them for the inspiration. I made a post recently about the role models, and I explained there that role models, and I referred to the example of athletes, they show you what's possible. So for instance, if, to use the example of freeletics again, if you're used to do a workout in one time, and you see that people in your community are doing it maybe 3 times, you all of a sudden see what's possible. You don't get discouraged and say, oh my God, I can only do it 1 time. No, you all of a sudden say to yourself, look, that's something I struggle with, but this is what's possible. I can do this too. So they show you what's possible. It's an inspiration. The other thing that a community does, of course, is making you belong to something, making you feel the sense of belonging. And this is something crucial. It is something that we need as human beings, to feel that we belong to a part of a community. And this sense of belonging makes you even do things you would even hate doing, and just to belong to this. And I will give you an example. In this example, in freeletics, they opened up a challenge, and they said that for 2 weeks they asked their members, and they have millions of members, they asked the members to do burpees, so something that they actually dread and hate, and they said, we want to do 2 million or 20 million, it was 20 million burpees in 2 weeks. So that every burpee that people did during a workout or even voluntarily counted in this challenge. And I can tell you they managed to do these 20 million burpees, and they even exceeded this. Why? Because people were willing to sacrifice and to do something they even were afraid of or didn't like to do, just to do the sense of belonging. And this is why I'm telling you that community has an immense importance for any change. And sports, and in particular team sports, will help you internalize it, will help you do it, succeed at it, see the benefits of it, and then basically use it in every other endeavor that you start, in every other change that you're going to start up. And it's going to make you more successful about it. So these are, in summary, the 5 elements and how sports can do them, and my feeling that sports can help you very much in reprogramming your brain. So the number 1 was around identity. It is very important for you to understand what person you need to become in order to successfully do that change. Number 2 was about commitment. There is no way that you can do something on the side. You need to put it at the center and structure everything else around it. Number 3 was about small steps. You only can achieve anything big if you cut it in small bite-sized pieces. Number 4 was about the personal growth. Seek the impossible. Train yourself. You can master it. And once you've done it, you will be able to do many, many, many more things. And you will be able to tap into resources. You will be forced to do things you never thought possible. And the step number, or not step number 5, but the element number 5 was around the community. Always seek the help of others. Seek the advice of others. Seek the encouragement, the inspiration, and the sense of belonging with others. Use the community to make the change possible, to make the change stick, to make the change sustainable. I hope it helped you. I hope this served you. If you liked it, please subscribe. Otherwise, I wish you a great day. Until the next post, all the best.